everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Jayson.
And we are father
and son.
Today we are doing part 2 of our series on the Boom Power Ranger comics. And Jayson, what are we covering this time, sir?
We are covering the third trade of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Pink.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
A kind of strange off-the-beaten-path miniseries that was done right in the middle of the first year of Power Rangers, making you think that maybe we'd get more of that kind of thing. And it took a while before we did get too much in the way of one-shots or miniseries that took place in different time periods in Power Rangers chronology. But that did start happening more and more later on. This one is kind of, and we'll talk about it later because we're going to start with Volume 3, but it was kind of an anomaly in that it kind of, for reasons Jayson will get into later, can't have happened now that we know everything we know with the rest of the comics. So it's already been pretty much retconned.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. But welcome, everybody. Thanks for watching live. Thanks for watching after the fact if you're doing that. And let's go ahead and just get right into it. So we're going to start with Volume 3. These are issues 9 through 12. And when last we were with our heroes, Jayson, what was going on?
Basically, they didn't have access to the morphing grid because, as previously on Power Rangers, basically, like, Black Dragon, who we don't know who the heck this guy is.
But we'll find out this volume.
Yeah. Like, rid their powers, like, they couldn't get into the morphing grid, so, they had to try to get to the morphing grid with Tommy's powers, but it made them all green.
Which was
Rangers.
The big reveal at the end of the last issue.
Yeah.
And so now we're into issue 9, and we've got our 5 original Rangers all dressed in green. And when first we see Jayson with Dragon Shield, I'm immediately like, wait a minute, I thought Tommy wasn't able to morph right now. Did you have that? Oh, yeah, that's right. This is the Red Ranger.
But they have
morphed as green.
They do have Tyrannosaurus in the background to help you. It's like, oh yeah.
I had that too. I was like, oh, this is a weird image. It's Green Ranger in front. Oh, I'm an idiot. I forgot. Now I'm remembering. Last time on Power Rangers. Yes, exactly.
And now the conclusion.
Yeah,
well,
so Black Dragon and Rita have access to the Ranger Zords. They're controlling them. They're taking over the world with them. It looks like it's real epic and feels like a big event, and it's real exciting. I think a lot of the action in this is the best we've had so far, and pretty engaging and dynamic. And the big mystery is, what is Black Dragon? We didn't talk about this last time, but this is a real modern thing with new villains. We think that a big smiley skeleton type face with no eyes is scary.
Yeah, I never noticed that he was like smiling.
He's always like, he's got that like Batman Who Laughs thing going on, and he predates that, of course. And I'm not saying that Power Rangers is the reason that keeps happening. I think there's a lot of things before that do that too. That's real modern bad guy design. But I think it's appropriate with this. He's real ominous. And again, you don't know what the heck he is. I think there's maybe a little bit of a cheat going on with the design of Black Dragon, because we'll find out what is Black Dragon, Jayson.
So Black Dragon...
And we'll, of course, spoil everything, reveal everything, and if you've never read these comics, this might be a way for you to learn about some of what happened with this stuff. But go ahead.
So Black Dragon is basically, we find out, like, Tommy from an alternate universe, where he, instead of joining the Rangers, he still joins Rita even when he's, like, free.
Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, because we'll get into that when we get into issue 11. But what is Black Dragon himself?
It's a Zord.
It's a Zord made out of...
Dragon Zord.
The Dragon Zord, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a neat reveal where Trini is because remember, Billy is missing right now, and so Trini's kind of having to fill in for him, and she's scanning parts of Black Dragon after he's defeated, and they find out that he's mechanical in nature, and they're able to get inside of him and bring him down. And actually, Billy does that. So this is after Billy is missing. He has a temporary team up with Goldar, which is weird because that's also a thing that Kimberly's going to do in Power Rangers Pink. There's some weird connections between these two things, even though they don't really have anything to do with each other. But Billy will leave the Dark Dimension and show up and help out and figure out what in the world Black Dragon is. He gets inside of Black Dragon while he's huge. The big question is, and we talked about this last time, because you were confused about this. Well, why is it able to grow?
Yeah.
And there's no explanation except it's like a souped up futuristic version of the Dragonzord, and it's able to grow larger mechanically. So there's no mystical thing with that. It just somehow is able to get to enlarge itself.
So is that universe in the future?
So again, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but I'll answer that. It is in the future, but it's an alternate universe. Yeah. So it's not it's not an alternate future. It's an alternate universe that is ahead in time. Do you see the difference? So that's not so Draken's future is not a thing that is going to happen unless we stop it. It's not the heroes thing.
No. Yeah.
It's that it's more of a what if scenario or an Elseworlds thing. Like it's another dimension where events happened differently, but just conveniently it's also set like 10 years in the future or however far in the future it is. So anyway, Billy gets inside of Black Dragon and because he figures out that it's mechanical and is able to pull parts out of it, and then Trini scans them and goes, wait a minute, this is exactly the Dragonzord. That's not possible. And that's the first inkling that something fishy is going on. And then we'll find out the big reveal.
Billy's gonna hate.
Yeah, and then the big reveal at the end of the issue is that whoever is controlling Black Dragon is what looks like an evil amalgamation between the Green Ranger and the White Ranger.
Yeah.
And there he is. There's your Dragon. So we're gonna start seeing really popular iconography that has become kind of iconic now in the next couple of issues. Just huge stuff that really changed the face of Power Rangers fandom over the last few years and kind of reinvigorated it and got it big again with a lot of old and new fans alike. Folks that maybe hadn't been into Power Rangers for a long time now had new designs to sink their teeth into. We talked about this before, but the comics, even though they're more serious and arguably even before you get to Go-Go, more character driven, has more character dimension, it's still a good toy commercial.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool toys that have come out of it. And so we don't get Ranger Slayer yet, but we get Draken and we get Mastodon Sentries and stuff that is really infiltrated or permeated, I should say, Power Ranger stuff in every kind of medium. Like, without this, I'm going to go this far. I don't think you get, like, for better or worse, however you feel about the fan service for all of this, without this, I don't mean specifically this statue, but this design, this character, Draken, I don't think you get anything like the video games and the board game and all of the stuff that we've had over the last few years in every kind of medium with Power Rangers.
Yeah. So
this stuff that we're looking at right here is huge.
Yeah. And let me just talk about, since you brought up Billy, this is what I did in the last video, so I'm going to try to do this with this video. So, like, while we're going down, like, the story, I'm just going to try to get my notes at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Billy is starting to grow on me a bit.
Okay, because you didn't like him last time.
Yeah, he's had more, like, depth and character and, like, I don't know. I don't think he's one of my favorite characters, but he's not one of my least favorite characters anymore.
And it's interesting to talk about it like that because these are pre-established characters. This doesn't read, and I don't want to rehash too much of what we talked about last time, but this doesn't read like we mentioned before, a full-on reboot. This is like new material that really kind of expects that you already know these characters, but it's trying to flesh them out more. And Go-Go will go a lot farther in really defining them more than they ever had been before, and make you go, okay, now I really appreciate these characters. And Higgins is still here, I think, struggling a little bit between how plot-driven and how character-driven he wants this to be. The stuff that's really fun about this is the plot-heavy stuff, I think. Is the iconography, is the mythology, is the surface level, kind of darker, more for adults, but not so adult that you can't read it. You know what I mean? Kind of stuff, and not as much of the character and the thematic work, some of which is there and established and interesting, but doesn't go far enough with. And we'll talk about that here in a second when we talk about the alternate the alternate timeline, the alternate dimension.
Yeah.
With Tommy and Draken, and why Draken is different now, and why Tommy, almost certainly, there's no reason to be worried that he would turn into this, but he's worried about that anyway.
Yeah.
You know? So, did issue 10 have anything to do with why you like Billy better now?
Yeah, issue 10. I'm gonna bring up one of my bad things.
Sure. We'll talk about this for just a second. So we
Yeah.
have issue 9. You have the big reveal at the end that we have whoever this guy is. He's not named yet.
Yeah.
And I gotta say real quick, can I go back for a second and talk about this?
Yeah.
This is a really important panel for all kinds of reasons, and it's almost a full page spread, and it's like pin-up worthy. You immediately see that if you're a Ranger fan, you want to put it on your wall. Like, whatever it is, that's awesome, and I have to have an action figure or a statue of it.
It's like when I used to have as my my background for my tablet, I used to have the big Thanos sitting in his chair.
Oh.
Like, I love that.
Well, when I first saw this, obviously I was super intrigued by it, and my ears kind of perked up in a way that they hadn't earlier reading this, where I was like, I mean, this is all kind of fun and a little intriguing, but where is it all going? And it feels like it's kind of meandering, like we talked about last week. And you get this, and you go, like, immediately I went, this is a neat design, and then I thought, this is really full-on just for people that know their Power Rangers. Like, you'd have no clue what you were looking at with this if you never read Power Rangers. And you're not supposed to fully get it anyway, but the reason this is interesting is because it's White Ranger and Green Ranger simultaneously. And the fan service of it is, didn't you always want to see those mixed? And we keep doing that with this book, up until even just a few months ago, where you finally get, way ahead of myself now, and it's going to be months before we get to this, but where you finally get to the Dragon Zord and the Tiger Zord combined to make a Tiger Dragon Zord or a Dragon Tiger Zord, whatever they called it. And it's really neat, but it's like we have to constantly do this stuff. Particularly with Tommy, particularly with Green and White Ranger. And so I stared at this image for a long time, and I was like, I'm conflicted. I don't know how to feel about this, because just the way we're plotting this is really weird, and it's not. And it feels like we're getting ahead of ourselves, I guess, is the big thing I was thinking about it. Besides, it looks cool, is we gotta get to White Ranger this quickly?
Yeah.
Or like something that looks like White Ranger right now, and it made me frustrated because, like I said last time, I wanted a full-on reboot, and clearly Higgins seems to have kind of wanted that too, but wasn't allowed to. So it feels like, and once we get into 11, it's really going to feel like this, where we're really impatient to get to stuff that we just can't do yet.
Yeah.
But we're going to find a way to kind of shoehorn it in there anyway for the sake of fan service. But the thing is, on the business end, it all worked.
Yeah.
Because Shattered Grid was huge once we got there, and then, Draken and Ranger Slayer and Black Dragon and all of that stuff sold really well in myriad different merchandising ways. So, like, it worked.
Yeah.
But I don't know, at what narrative cost, a little bit, and what kind of precedents are we setting where it's just all about the fan service, at the end of the day, or at least that's what it kind of feels like reading it in the moment. As we've gone on, it's become less that way to some degree, and there will be some cool story stuff that we'll be able to sink our teeth into as we go along. Talk about issue 10. We get the sudden, so Draken shows up, and then we find out that Tommy and Billy are in some weird alternate dimension or future or something. We don't know what it is. They're statues of Rita and Green Ranger. And then we just have an interlude issue where we're back in time.
So, okay, I'm going to go to one of my bad things. I don't get all the filler issues. Like, I don't know why they have to do that.
So this is a thing that happens with comics quite a bit, where it's usually a way to get an issue out so you're not late. This is done by a different team. It's a different writer and artist. It's so that we can have an issue this month because Higgins and the regular artist, I can't remember his name right now, are not ready to put out the next issue. So it becomes 11. Mm. That is probably what happened there.
Yeah.
Presetia.
Yeah.
But yeah, so talk about that a little bit. What happens in that?
I don't know.
And we'll do this quickly. It's a real simple interlude issue.
I have no idea what is even like. I was trying to read this through quickly, and there's just way too much text on the page, and I feel like, and so basically, like, Billy is trying to figure out, like how to be a hero.
Yep.
And, like, just, not, like, I don't really know how to explain.
So it reads like kind of just a little character piece for Billy, and it's building a little bit on what we've had earlier with his insecurity in feeling like he's not really worthy of being a ranger, and he's trying to figure out how to feel like a hero. He feels like he can't be a superhero unless he feels like one, unless he's gone through the character arc, and I kind of like that idea that he is kind of obsessing about the hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell thing, and trying to make that happen for himself. And he goes through scenario after scenario in training. He's running all these simulations, trying to go through all the steps of the hero's journey, almost as if you try to force yourself to go through the stages of grief after somebody died or something because you don't understand why you're not feeling that, so you try to make yourself feel it, and of course that never works. And so at the end of this, the big lesson he learns is I'm still, and it's weird because I think this happens before he's lamenting not feeling enough like he belongs as like the action hero as opposed to just the nerdy guy when he's talking to Trini earlier. I'm pretty sure this all happens before that.
Yeah.
So it does feel like, I don't know if it's full on character progression, but it does feel like he's kind of gone through this already, and we've already read him go through it again later.
Which is funny because
sort of.
And I'm not gonna get to this like I'm just gonna talk about this super quick. In Power Rangers Pink, the Blue Ranger like wants to be an action hero and is like very action driven.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And in comparing them, because he's a different kind of personality.
Yeah.
But is also the sort of character that's like, I've never had the opportunity to get to do that. And then once he gets it, he embraces it, and he's decent at it. But when Billy does it, he just doesn't have the personality type for it, and he thinks that somehow makes him lesser. And so you get to the end of it, and he has the character arc of I guess I found my place in this team to some degree. He puts the hero's journey book back on the shelf. I can't force myself to go through that. Maybe it's funny you bring up Pink again, because there's so many connections with this story-wise with that. Yeah. Kimberly also sort of has that in that book, where it's season 3 Kimberly, after she's been the Pink Ranger, and she's trying to reconcile not being a Power Ranger anymore and trying to figure out how she fits in the world, where she wants to she wants to move on from being a ranger, but there's a part of her that doesn't know how to do that, and she's trying to decide, like, can I be a hero without being a Power Ranger? And Billy has sort of the opposite thing, where it's like, I am a ranger and I have to be a hero, but I don't feel like one. But anyway, so my issue with this is, I mean, like, it's a fine little story. My issue with it is I don't buy that Zordon would allow Billy to stay morphed all the time.
Yeah.
So he morphs under his clothes, and he stays morphed all the time because he's afraid. And I like that idea. I like it as an idea that he would think to try that, where it's like, I need to be suited up, I need to be metamorphized to feel like a superhero, and even that's not working. That's what he's trying to do. And he has that kind of, you know, touching exchange with Zach, where Zach says, look, just do what you gotta do. If you have to stay morphed. And I'm like, you can't tell me that he can do that secretly without Zordon and Alpha knowing. Like, he'd be draining power. They would know it looking at their monitors in the command center. And I would think that Zordon would have a conversation with him and maybe ultimately allow him to do it if he, like, sympathizes with him and understands why he's doing it. But how is there not a conversation? Because I would think that would inherently break one of the main three tenets of being a Power Ranger.
Yeah.
Where you're not allowed to use your powers for personal gain.
Yeah.
How does it not violate that? Or at least, how is there not a conversation about whether it violates it?
Yeah.
That was my big problem with it.
Yeah, I didn't really think of that, about that. Yeah.
But anyway, so let's go ahead and get into 11 and 12.
Yeah.
And why don't you talk a little bit about the future and how that's happened? Because you started getting into that earlier, but we were getting too ahead of ourselves.
So just like how that different, like the history of the alternate timeline. Okay. So basically, when the Sword of Darkness was destroyed, he had a choice, and
at the end of Green with Evil.
Yeah, at the end of Green with Evil.
Up to the end of Green with Evil, this alternate universe happens the same way.
Yeah. And at the end of Green with Evil, Tommy was had a choice where he could stick with the Rangers, or he could, I don't know what really the other choice is, but he stick with the Rangers in this timeline.
Or I guess go it alone, or go with Rita, which is what he ends up doing in the alternate timeline.
And for some reason, and I mean it's an alternate timeline, but for some reason he goes with Rita instead, and then he's just her personal ranger or whatever, and
the idea is he's not under her mind control anymore, but she convinces him that her way is a better way, the whole kind of typical Bond villain, tear down the system and replace it with something else. Rita is, in this book, and this is one of the things that I have a tough time with sometimes, is real mustache twirly and one-dimensional Saturday morning cartoon villain, but at the same time can sometimes get people to believe that she's trying to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like it's sort of like if Robotnik did that.
Yeah.
It's kind of full-on unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you sort of wish that she was actually a better manipulator that way. Wouldn't it be? And again, it's so frustrating. This is why I wanted this so badly to be a flat-out, new reimagining of this story. Because what if you told Green with Evil, where instead of mind control at all, it starts from that place? Where Rita is able to convince this loner kid that doesn't know how to get along with people, has maybe had a rough, rocky background with his family and stuff. Maybe he's poor. Maybe he's seen some real, rough stuff in his history, and he's just desperate for the world to be a better place.
Yeah.
And she says, I'm trying to become a fascist dictator to make the world a better place, and he believes her, and she even convinces him, the Rangers are in our way, and their hearts are in the wrong place, or in the right place, but Zordon's philosophy is simply wrong. His is not the way, mine is. We have to do, the lesser of two evils. And it becomes that ends justifies the means thing. This tries to kind of have its cake and eat it too, because it was mind control in the first place, and then after that, it was of his own accord, the Draken version.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that would be great. Like, if they were actually able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then somehow get Tommy on the right foot later on, where he does join the Rangers, but after he initially is just misguided and chooses the wrong side.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the idea of Draken in making that decision. We don't fully understand his motivations here, and I would argue the book never totally does either. As we go along, we'll see if it changes my mind about that. But there are various places where it seems to come from one thing, and then it kind of turns into something else, where, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but it seems to start from this idea that I can't keep the people I care about safe unless I control everything. And then later on, it seems to be a lot less interesting and less sympathetic than that. And it just, in Shattered Grid, and this is why I don't like the ending of Shattered Grid, it kind of just turns into, I like power, and that's kind of all it is.
Yeah.
And it didn't start from that place. But we'll see if I feel that way when we read up, because it's been a few years. With a lot of that. Here, it's a mystery as to his motivation.
Yeah.
Because we're told it's Saba of all people that tells us about this, and it's Saba, and Saba is like, well, Tommy was either you're really power hungry, or he just thought Rita could make the world a better place. Like, he doesn't know either.
Yeah. So Rita hasn't had a single spell yet.
That's not true. We see her do an incantation in the first volume.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I didn't remember if, like...
She hasn't done a lot.
Yeah, which is strange, because she does it quite a lot in the show.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah.
She is still a witch, though.
She's a witch. Yeah, like, okay, just because we brought up Saba and stuff, I don't normally like fan service, but it's working so far.
Yeah?
Like, I mean, I know we haven't got to Shattered Grid, which is fan service, like, basically.
The miniseries.
The miniseries.
Yeah.
But so far, it's actually pretty cool, like, because there's randomly, and we're in an alternate universe, so it's kind of cool. I mean, like, did you see, it was like a prison or something that had Finster's name on it?
Yeah. This
Yeah.
Finster Memorial Prison.
Yeah.
And we'll find out later why that is. Because Finster and Draken turn out to be, like, best friends.
Really?
Yeah. Finster gets, later on we'll see this, and this is a character, by the way, I really want to see in the board game at some point. Finster gets mixed with, or I guess kills Alpha and wears parts of Alpha, or makes himself a cyborg. I'm not sure what exactly is going on, but calls himself Finster 5. And Finster 5 and Draken are best friends.
Yeah. I didn't realize they were best friends.
Yeah.
Like, I knew about Finster 5, but yeah.
That's a whole thing. Real quick, when you get to the end of this issue, and then we'll talk about all the iconography that they use from later seasons and stuff, where they get real ahead of themselves and just go, we really want to be able to throw some of this stuff in that we haven't been able to.
Ranger.
Yeah, exactly. Here are the Alien Rangers.
Yeah.
So you get the reveal of Draken at the end of 9, and it's shocking. Where you're like, what is this costume? You get to the reveal at the end of 11, and you go, yeah, I mean, I about figured that.
Yeah.
All the explanation we just gave you actually comes from 12 when Saba breaks it all down out in the woods. But here it's like he finally takes his mask off, and yeah, it's an evil Tommy.
Yeah.
So is that a big complaint you have with this, where we're still in the territory of everything's about Tommy?
Yeah, that's one of my bad things.
Okay, talk about that.
I don't like how it's all about Tommy. There's Saba now, and there's Tommy, and and just Tommy, and now now all the Rangers are Tommy except for Tommy. Tommy?
The Rangers are all green. Tommy is still like has his dragon dagger, and he's still trying to control the Dragon Zord. And then the enemy that they're fighting is a reworked. Worse than that, is a reworked Dragon Zord controlled by an evil Tommy.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that the big bad of the whole piece is Tommy.
And then there's Saba, which is...
And then Saba shows up, so we finally get a cool new, not new to us, ally, and it's just a weapon that Tommy carries around.
It's all Tommy.
Richard Tracy says it's actually the Red Ranger that's gone bad. I'm not sure what he means by that. We'll find out in the alternate future that Tommy actually, that Jayson was supposed to be the White Ranger in this alternate future.
Yes.
And he is a Red Ranger. He's a Red Ranger carrying Saba, and they're about to do White Light, but they haven't gotten to do White Light yet.
Yeah.
And then Draken ends up killing him. And off-panel, they don't show you how exactly, somehow blending his, perverse, evil Green Ranger, dragon coin, mixing it with the white coin, I guess, and turning it into Draken. I wonder where the Red Ranger powers are in all of this, because
and he
Jayson
holds up
was...
the mask.
Yeah.
Or the helmet.
Which is also kind of an iconic image now. There's an action figure that does that. But I just wonder, where is the Red Ranger coin in all of this?
Yeah.
I guess he uses it to make sentries.
Yeah.
But I just wonder why it wasn't incorporated into this costume initially, because he does this all real quick. I mean, we can look at the panel here, at the panels here, but let's get at all the fan service you're talking about. So it really just starts off with, holy crap, we get to see the Tiger Zord already.
Yeah, Tommy.
But can we just talk about how pretty this art is?
Yeah. The art in this series is really good.
When I think this issue especially.
Yeah, the art in this series is good.
Oh, you don't like pink?
I'll explain it
in
a little bit.
All right, we'll talk about that. So you get, I mean, it really is, like we keep saying, Tommy's greatest hits, but it's also Mighty Morphin Power Rangers' greatest hits, because we get all this third season stuff, because I guess we must have been in about third season, somewhere like in the middle, before Draken takes over. Oh boy, I have so many questions about this future. Like, where's the Zeo Crystal?
Yeah. I'm
not sure if that ever comes up with this, because again, it's been a while since I've read this stuff. Maybe it does, and I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they ever mention like where that is. Like maybe it's just in space somewhere and nobody knows about it, so they don't go after it. But
yeah, and Falcon Zord.
But why doesn't you just gotta wonder? I mean, I guess Zordon probably gets messed up before he has a chance to try to send anybody after it, but you'd think like the next thing they do would be to go find the Zeo Crystal.
Yeah.
After Draken takes over. Like this is what you always do when you lose your powers, is you go try to find a replacement for your powers, and that doesn't happen with this. But anyway, so yeah, you get the Tigers. We'll just talk about all this cool superficial stuff. You get the Tiger Zord, and then you get the Falcon Zord.
Yeah.
And you get the did I even use the picture of it, or did we see it already in this earlier issue? I think we did. Yeah, so you already are starting to get some of this third season stuff when they come up upon the busted up command center, and we find out that in this alternate future they've already gotten to the Thunder Zords.
Yeah.
And I guess while Tommy is working for Rita, a lot of the same stuff that happened in our version of the show still happened until Draken took over. Because they have the Thunder Zords, and they're gonna get the Ninja Zords. So, like, here's a question. Well, I'll ask that in a minute. So we got the Thunder Zords, we've got Tor.
Yeah.
And then you get Tiger Zord, and you get Falcon Zord. And then we get the flashback that explains everything that you just told us about with how all of this happens. Real briefly, there's a part of me that always wished that there could have been more of a specific, like, impetus for why Tommy decides to go with Rita. What is it that's different about this Tommy? Like, it seems like, because when you do a what-if thing, like in Marvel, usually it's not like a character just suddenly decides to do something different. Sometimes we do that, but more often it's this kind of other random thing happens that mixes things up, and the characters are the same, but if this thing changed, they might respond to it differently, right? And I just wish that's how this was handled, where this is a hard thing to articulate. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but what I want with a thing like this is to believe that this Tommy that we have in our universe has this in him somehow. And it doesn't seem like he does, because the situation is exactly the same. So what's different is Draken's just a different version of Tommy. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's just not that interesting to me. And so you get that. I mentioned this earlier, but you get the exchange at the end of this where he's talking to Billy, and he's like, "I'm worried I'm going to go evil. Like maybe this is a thing that just hasn't happened to me yet." But you also had that moment at the end of Green with Evil, where you could have made the choice to go with Rita, and you didn't do that. So that, like, what I wish is that we knew that he was more conflicted in that moment.
Yeah.
In our version of Green with Evil.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was some talk where he said, I thought about it. Like I might have thought to go with her, and I had this opportunity for change, and this other version of me took it, and I decided not to. I decided to go with Zordon. I want it to be possible that he could go this way, but he chose the other path, and then was changed by his friends.
Yeah.
And that's not what we have here. It's real arbitrary. That's what I don't like about it. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but
I do.
But that's what I don't like about it.
Pumpkin
okay,
Rapper.
so we get so we get Pumpkin Rapper, and then you get the Alien Rangers and
Phantom Rangers.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Where's Ninjor?
Ninjor is right
he is there.
over here.
Never mind, he is there. I was going to say, why Phantom Ranger and not Ninjor? But yeah, Ninjor has to be there, because they have the ninja powers. Why wouldn't he show up? So I'm glad he's there. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Well, I don't have that problem anymore.
And then Goku. Like, who the heck is that guy?
You don't know who that is?
No.
That's Lokar.
Wait, that's who? Wait, that's Lokar?
That's Lokar.
Oh. He's, like, in color.
He's like, so maybe you're having a hard time telling that was Lokar because he has full opacity. He's not see-through. Like he is in Doomsday.
He's usually blue and stuff.
I thought he was a little blue. I thought it was so cool they thought to put Lokar in there.
Yeah.
It's great. Because they were, clearly careful to make this all stuff that does happen after Green with Evil. And so, I mean, this seems to be a blend of a bunch of stuff, because you have the Falcon Zord up there, but then you've got the Red Ranger Zord from the Thunder Zords. But like Pumpkin Rapper and Lokar are all, I think, first season things that happen post Green Ranger.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know. That stuff's all fun. And then, like I said, this art is dynamite. It's wonderfully really dramatic, and I wouldn't have minded like a miniseries that just played all this out.
Yeah.
Instead of getting the flashbacks are good, and I don't mind getting them in flashback.
Well, that's what you said that they should do.
Yes, Richard, Lokar is the floating head. Yep. And yeah, they brought back Pumpkin Rapper just in the background to be like, here's the history of Power Rangers in this alternate universe. So we don't actually do anything with Pumpkin Rapper, but he's just drawn because Kyle Higgins is obsessed with Pumpkin Rapper. He loves Pumpkin Rapper.
Really?
Yes. And they got him in for an episode of Hyperforce.
Really?
Yes.
He's in Hyperforce?
He's in Hyperforce. So those of you that don't know about Hyperforce, explain real quick what Hyperforce is.
It was like an RPG YouTube series that had like a bunch of random people doing like pencil and paper RPGs, and they occasionally brought in guests like Jen from Time Force and
like actual celebrities that were in the shows,
and Jason David Frank and
And Jason David Frank, however you feel about him, is, because we all know DJ doesn't like Jason David Frank, he's spectacular in that. And he comes in, I believe, as multiple characters. I think he comes in as Dino Thunder Black and as Draken.
Yeah.
I don't think he plays them at the same time, but he's in one game as one and at least one or two games as the other.
And you said that he was really good as Draken.
He's really good. Yeah, he's menacing. He's rolling dice and he's freaking me out. He's scary. And he's rolling dice. It's amazing. No, he's great. Well, Kyle Higgins comes in. And remember that, so Hyperforce is this like pseudo-canonical or full-on canonical thing where it's a RPG, but it might as well have been a show. Yeah. And it's connected to the comics. They use the Hyperforce Rangers in it, and it sets up Shattered Grid. And if you ever want to go back and listen to it on YouTube, it's decompressed because it's an RPG, but it's fun to listen to, and it's definitely worth it. Like I don't think you'll be wasting your time. It's fun to listen to, and he comes in, and I will spoil the big thing they do with his episode. So turn this off for a minute if you don't want to hear about this. But Kyle Higgins is playing a character that will be revealed at the end of the episode to be Pumpkin Rapper, because he just loves Pumpkin Rapper. Yeah, it's fantastic. Anyway, Richard, thanks for all the comments, man. Okay, so, and then at the end of this, we've got members of the Coinless who find our heroes, and our heroes are going to have to decide if they're going to try to join them or not. And so we have Aisha, who's not been named yet, but it's definitely her, and I can't remember if it's Trini, and then Bulk. Yeah. And Bulk's like a major member of the Underground, and I kind of like the way they write him in this.
What?
Yeah, it's great. And so Tommy and Billy are initially not sure if they want to join this Underground. They don't know anything about it, and they can't really trust anybody. And so this is the first glimpse that we get of that. I gotta complain that I don't love where the trades break. They kind of just arbitrarily go every 4 issues, and like I think it might have been better, and we're just reviewing them as they came out in trade just to have good chunks. There's a part of me that kind of wishes that I had just made up my own sets, Jason, and we ended off in kind of like better stopping places, because it's all to be continued. It's all cliffhangers.
Yeah.
But like we stopped last time with, and now they're all green, and then the next issue is the big fight that resolves all of that.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel that way here, where it's, and now they found the Coinless. And we'll
Who the heck are they?
We'll see you next week, guys. Bye. Like.
Yeah.
Do you have any more notes about these 4 before we talk a little bit about Pink?
I think the series is paced pretty well.
Do you?
Yeah.
I think it's paced better now that we're getting to the meat of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm of 2 minds about it. There's a part of me that wishes that we opened with this, where it's like, well, why have any issues establishing characters at all if it's going to be kind of, I can't even say between the raindrops so much as just like the history of Power Rangers gets interrupted with a crazy guy from a future alternate reality that changes everything.
Yeah.
If it's supposed to play like it's the continuity but broken, why not just start there?
Yeah.
In hindsight, what I want, of course, is we start with Go-Go, and then we let Go-Go turn into this.
Yeah.
Because that feels a little bit more rebooty, even though it isn't exactly, but, like, we're actually more than just establishing characters, like, we're really fleshing them out, and then make us really care about them, and then let this stuff happen. So have, like, the high school kind of Buffy drama unfold, and then it all gets interrupted with this insane, crazy stuff. That's what I really wish we were getting. But anyway, it's pretty, it's a lot of fun to look at.
Yeah.
It's totally understandable why this got so popular.
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about Pink, or is there anything else you want to hit from this?
Nope, let's start talking about Pink.
Okay, so I'm going to let Jayson really kind of run point with this, and I'll fill in a little bit. I've reviewed this before, and
I have a lot to talk about with this.
Yeah, I've already kind of said my piece on this, but Jayson, why don't you kind of break down what this book is?
Yeah.
And setting and all of that. Go ahead.
So basically, this is like after. I don't know if it's like right after, but it's after Kimberly leaves in season 3.
She's clearly been gone a while.
Yeah.
It reads like mid-3
Yeah.
somewhere, but it's pretty ambiguous about when exactly it takes place.
Yeah.
So you have to it has to be post Zed and Rita are married.
Yeah.
And you've got, you know, the third season roster, and they have Ninja Zords.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere in the middle of 3.
So basically,
Although I guess all that happened before. Sorry, I guess all that happened before Kimberly left anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So basically, Kimberly is worried about his mom, or her mom, because she did not, like, her mom wasn't returning her calls and stuff.
Yeah.
So she went to, like, wherever they are in France, like, where they were living in the small town in France. And, like, nothing's there. There's no people. It's like a ghost town, and she's, like, wondering what's happening. And
so then she has to become someone else. She has to become something else.
Yeah, and then...
Look, she's Arrow.
Yeah. And then something else. And then
I was doing, like, the Arrow thing.
Yeah.
It's been a while since you've seen that. When you remember that, they had the voiceovers where he'd always say that. I had to become someone else, I had to become something else, and then that's why I said that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well then. But
it was really funny.
then she finds... That's why I'm laughing. So then she finds this person, and then they find weird green creatures, and they find Goldar, and he's like, ha ha ha, and they find out that he's working with this guy. I don't remember what his name is.
This fish monster?
Yeah.
Fish monster's name is Verto.
Verto, yes. That, like, makes people into fish
creatures.
monsters.
Yeah.
And
he did that to her mom.
Yeah. So Kimberly has to go save her mom and everyone else.
Yep.
Yep. And then
that's the first issue. But she becomes a ranger again.
She becomes a ranger again with her powers, and then not much else happens until issue 5. Basically, a lot of... So I'm just gonna say, first off, this series is very wordy.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of words to be read.
This is not Higgins. I don't recognize the author on this. Fletcher. I don't know who this is.
And I don't like the art
at all, just all the way through.
Yeah.
So I have the same thing I do with this that I have with a few different artists that have done the Power Ranger book, including sometimes the original with what's his name? I just said it a minute ago. But more so with this, where I don't care for the faces, but the actual Ranger stuff looks fine.
Yeah.
It's like we're hiring people that can make Ranger costumes look good.
Yeah.
And the monsters are okay, but you don't like the style just in general.
Yeah. it doesn't look very good. It's very, like, cartoony. I don't know. But basically, she finds...
And exaggerated facial expressions, where if Kimberly's happy, she's really happy, and if she's upset, she's really upset. Yeah.
But yeah, basically, she finds... And then what is Zach, like, in that, like, bottom panel, what is his face doing? He's like...
Richard Tracy says she still has her powers. There is a kind of easy, cheap explanation for why she's able to get her powers back.
She gets a sword, and then she uses it.
Well, yeah, but more than that, she didn't have her powers transferred the same way Kat did, so they're still inherently in her or something.
Yeah, and so...
And Zordon's able to draw them out with the Sword of Light. Yeah. And she's able to then use the Sword of Light to disperse her powers back to Zack and Trini.
And use some of Zordon's powers to do it.
Use some of, yeah. And then the big kind of ticking time bomb throughout is Zordon needs his power back or he's going to die, so they have to make this mission happen as fast as they can, or they can't give Zordon his powers back.
Yeah. And then they have a whole thing with Zack and Trini coming back.
The stakes are okay, I have to say. Like, you know, her mom is in danger. She's going to be a fish creature forever. And Zordon needs his powers back or he's going to die. Like, sufficient stakes. And then you have stakes with the current Power Rangers, too. Because they're off-planet fighting Zed and Rita and Serpentera. Mm-hmm. It's weird they're having, like, the most epic battle of their lives as this is happening.
When we could be reading about that other battle, but whenever we get a small glimpse
it takes up the whole 6th issue.
Well, yeah. But basically,
which also, like what we were talking about earlier, turns into fan service the issue.
Yes, but yeah, they get they get Zack. She gets Zack and Trini, and they become Power Rangers.
Yep.
And I really like these costumes.
I like the pink costume a lot.
Yeah.
I think
and
it's
I
cool.
like the black costume a lot too. With the hood.
The pink like interlacing because it's the pink powers is kind of a cool idea, but it doesn't look as good as hers because of that.
Yeah, but I like his hood. He's like wearing a jacket. It's cool. And okay. I looked through all of the covers. I looked through even all of the different covers or whatever. None of them have the new suits. All of them have the old Mighty Morphin suits.
Weird.
Like, what?
And Gymnast Kimberly.
Yeah, and...
Oh, but that still has even her helmet. Yeah.
But it's so weird.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That is weird.
Because that's not the main thing of, like...
You know what I wish we could have seen? I don't mean in this, but somehow, somewhere, I would have liked to have seen that suit up against Ranger Slayer.
Yeah.
Because I'm, like, obsessed with the Ranger Slayer costume, and this suit is kind of, like, almost good guy Ranger Slayer.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Like, it's got some of that in it, and this is pre-Ranger Slayer. Like, maybe that costume's been designed already, but we haven't had it in comics yet.
Yeah.
Anytime you put black and white with the pink, it looks boss.
It looks really cool.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
You know what doesn't look cool? White Ranger's face there. It's weird.
That's what I was going to say. He's like...
There's some Marvel issues in the 90s where the proportions of the costumes are strange, and they look like they're made of putty, and they're putty Rangers. It's very weird. The middle explodes. Okay, what else? What other notes do you have?
So I like the relationship between Kimberly and Goldar.
Yeah.
Later. It's super cool.
You think it's fun that they have, like, the Uneasy Alliance?
Mm-hmm. And... Or, like, you can't really trust Goldar, but...
You just like Goldar, I think.
I love Goldar in this series.
I don't think we go far enough with his characterization. Because she has this whole thing where she's like, Goldar, there's more to you than meets the eye. Maybe you are, like, more of a human being. And I'm like, no, he's not.
No.
Like, there's nothing in this that makes me actually buy that, where he's not just... taking advantage of the situation and like just doing what he needs to do to survive.
Yeah.
He's just being pragmatic. Like I don't buy that at all, but whatever. I also don't like his initial plot. It makes no sense. We'll get to that super chat in a minute. So did you think about this? Explain to me at the beginning of this what Goldar is trying to do with the fish monster.
I don't know.
Okay, so Goldar intentionally draws Kimberly out, even though he doesn't even know if she's a ranger or not anymore. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, the whole reason that he starts kidnapping people and having this Verto guy turn them into fish monsters is because he wants to, and it's very vague, get to Zordon? That's what he says. He's like, I'm trying to get to Zordon.
Yeah.
And he wants to steal Ranger powers somehow. And so he goes, I was trying to lure you out, Pink Ranger, and miraculously you showed up and you brought me the Sword of Light. And do you remember what he says? I didn't know how I was going to siphon your powers off, but I just got lucky that you showed up with the Sword of Light, and now I can do it.
Yeah.
Why wasn't that ever the plan before then?
Yeah.
Why didn't Goldar ever go to Zetorita and go, hey, I have an idea. Let's just draw the Rangers out, and then something will find a way to steal their powers.
Yeah.
We won't even have a plan. It'll work. But it'll miraculously work. I've read the comic script. I know it'll work. And then, here it does. He just goes, I don't know, something fish monster stealing powers. And then she shows up with the sword, and yeah, he's able to do that.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's dumb for Power Rangers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there's some okay character work here and there. I don't think it ever goes far enough with stuff. It kind of tacks things on at the end where it's like Kimberly just had a character arc about, learning her heroic place in the world, and that, okay, tell me if you had this. I had thought about this in years. My big issue with this book was always, the moral of the story is you don't have to be a Power Ranger to be a hero. And the way Kimberly comes to learn that is by having to be a Power Ranger again. To the point where it almost kills her former mentor. And all of the Rangers that aren't Rangers anymore have to be Rangers again in order to be heroes. And the couple of people on the street that help them out, that decide they're going to go be like EMTs and like help the environment and stuff at the end, because they were like, I like that. It's like, I was a Power Ranger and that inspired me to do more with my life. Yeah. That's all good. But like, the moral of the story is the moral of the story of the 1995 Power Rangers movie. You're not a hero unless you have power. Like, yeah. That's how it reads to me.
Yeah.
I wanted something more subtle because of the setup. Why tease us with Kimberly puts on a motorcycle suit and has a bow and arrow, and she's gonna go kick ass? With, like why give us that if she's just gonna have to go be a Power Ranger? Shouldn't that have been the book?
Yeah. No, this doesn't make any sense. And like,
well, I'm not saying it does. Like, a lot of it makes enough sense. The Goldar thing is dumb. Just the initial setup of the story.
Yeah.
And also this idea that if you can tap into the Morphin grid, you just automatically randomly know where people are. That keeps coming up in this book. Like, I'm connected to the Morphin grid. I know where this person is.
Yeah.
But I'm just asking you, like, would you have enjoyed this if it was more, like, is that too subtle for a Power Ranger story? Could she just put on a costume and go be a Ranger without morphing, and you have a book, or do you need morphing?
I don't think you could call it Power Rangers. I think it could be a fun spin-off of Power Rangers.
I think it could for a miniseries.
Well, yeah.
If the moral of your story is once a Ranger, always a Ranger, you totally could still call it Power Rangers.
Yeah. But, like, I think that would be cool. I mean, like, Kimberly looks freaking cool in her, like, bike suit or whatever. Like, she looks, like, super cool.
I wanted her to be able to solve this problem without having to morph.
Yeah, because the moral of the story is you don't have to morph to be a Power Ranger.
Yeah, and why is the magic number always 5? Zordon goes, in order to stop this threat, you're going to need a complete team.
A complete team could be just 3.
Not according to Mighty Morphin. You have to have 5. He's like, you're going to each have less power, but there will be 5 of you, so you'll be able to accomplish your task.
Yeah.
That's how it reads.
Yeah, that doesn't... You don't need 5.
Actually, that's funny.
Because, yeah. Well, but then, like... What about if, like... Do you think that if it wasn't a miniseries, they would get a 6th Ranger?
Oh, probably. You could have used this to start a whole team, except it'd be weird because it'd be all temporary. It's like Zordon's life is always in danger.
Yeah.
You'd have to go find another power source.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of those in the Power Rangers universe. So anyway, what is your big complaint about how this fits in the canon? We have to talk about all that.
There's a problem with her getting Zack and Trini. Because I don't know really anything about later, like after Shattered Grid. I'm like blank after Shattered Grid, but what Dad has told me was Omegas. So the Omega Rangers were basically just Jayson, Zack, and Trini. After they left to go become Omega Rangers.
Yeah.
And, like, their reactions and everything don't really fit. Like, and, like, Zordon is like, good friends with them still. And,
they act like they haven't been Rangers in forever.
Yeah,
they've forgotten what it feels like to have powers.
Yeah. And it's kind of just like that... So, do we live in a universe... So, does Power Rangers Pink exist in a universe where Draken never happened?
It has to.
Yeah.
It certainly reads like it. Here's the problem even with that, though. If it's just unaltered timeline, forgetting the question of whether the regular series is an unaltered timeline or not, because I'm not sure that the people writing it know.
Mm-hmm.
But... the problem with it is the stupid peace conference. Because when they become Omegas, it's under the pretense that they're going perpetually to a peace conference that I guess never ends. Right?
Yeah.
And the Omegas were a really clever, and great stories told with that, a really clever way to get around that silliness in the show, where it just doesn't make sense that they go off for this perpetual peace conference forever.
Yeah.
Here... there clearly was an actual peace conference.
Yeah.
So, if it's an unaltered timeline, it means that they still left, but to actually go to that peace conference.
Yeah.
And in the altered timeline, they leave under the pretense of that and become Omegas. So it still doesn't really add up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like this in a vacuum quite a bit. Like, I'm complaining about stuff partly just because it's funny to me, like the convenience of the Goldar plot and all of that. I like the way Kimberly's characterized a lot. She carries the series real well. I do think that it's kind of overwritten and a little long. I don't think it needs to be 6 issues. I think 4 would have really sufficed. What do you think? And we haven't talked about Typhonis.
Yes.
Typhonis is cool.
He is super cool. It's like...
I was like, did the Rangers get him at the end and they can just start using him?
It's like the Thunder Megazord and the White Tiger, in one.
No. There's no White Tiger. It's Thunder Megazord and Cyclopsis.
And Cyclopsis?
Yes. And we're
then why is there White Tiger stuff?
Is there White Tiger stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's also got White Tiger in it. Oh, I guess you're right. I didn't even notice that. Yeah. No, he is using old parts from Cyclopsis. And Goldar comes out and says that. As soon as I see the head, I'm like, oh, it's Cyclopsis, and then Goldar actually confirms it later.
Yeah.
But no, that's really cool. It's a fun design.
And then they have issue 6 where they have the whole thing where like they have to go. And they get the shark cycles back.
General Ursa says Dino Thunder had 3 Rangers. Yes, we're fully aware of the 3 Ranger teams. That's what Jayson was talking about earlier. But the point I'm making is, with Mighty Morphin Era, we always treat it like if you don't have 5 Rangers, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Quite often. There's a lot of episodes where it's like there's 3 Rangers taking on something. And oh man, if we don't get the other 2 there, we're not going to have enough power.
Yeah.
So the last issue is... I don't know.
A completely different story.
It's fun for me, especially at the time that it came out, because I'm finally getting the era that I love the most. Serpentera, and it's funny because it's the first glimpse of Zed we get in this series. Do you realize that?
Yeah, and Rhea looks really bad.
Yeah, and Zed looks like Zed.
Zed.
So I mean, that's good.
You can't mess up Zed.
You can. I've seen it done.
Well, outside of the year 1995, you can't mess up Zed.
I'm not talking about that. I mean, in comics, I've seen it done. And if you go back to especially like the Marvel 90s comics, he looks dreadful.
Well, okay.
We got to review some of that.
Yeah.
What? So Zed's. Everybody knows how much I love Lord Zed, so I have to do this. Zed's first line in the whole of the comics universe is, "What is this? An ally come to crush the Power Rangers with their own garbage Zords?" That's Zed's first line.
Yeah.
It's the first thing he says.
Yeah. It is.
Now look at her face.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
I wanted to know how this whole situation even happened. Where it's like, how did they end up fighting Zed and Rita directly, like out in space, up against Serpentera? Because there's an episode where that sort of happens. Where remember where Zed and Serpentera is like blowing up planets. I was just wondering, like, how this even happened. Because it's just this huge epic thing, and like you said, we're following this like side story.
Yeah. And I really like how I like the way they use French.
Yeah.
Like they know French.
It kind of felt like somebody came into this going, well, I know that Kimberly moves to Europe, and I have spent a lot of time in Europe, or I'm from there, or whatever, and wanted to use this to get to, show off their knowledge of France.
Yeah.
Because all of that is real authentic.
Yeah. It is.
Okay, what do you think about the 1 year later business at the end of this?
Yeah, so I don't really remember this in Zeo. The whole...
The breakup letter?
Yeah, the breakup letter. I know that it happened, but I didn't really remember. But, I don't know. Like, it's just kind of convenient that's...
It was a weird choice to include it here, because I can kind of see how we get there, where, Kimberly is just feeling differently about her life. Like, she was a ranger one more time, and then is realizing that even though at the beginning it was hard to put that behind her, she's finally sort of learned how to do that. And she and Tommy have to go different directions because Tommy just can't stop being a Power Ranger, to the point where he'll be 4 different colors. He's just going to be a Power Ranger. And he'll have that period where he goes and gets his doctorate, because I buy that guy could get a doctorate. And then he'll be a Power Ranger again in his 40s, But Kimberly has moved on and wants to be a gymnast and wants to take care of her... wants to take care of her family. It cares more about making sure her family's safe than she does about the rest of the world and all of that. So yeah, I guess it works okay. I just... my issue with the character stuff in this is that it's built so much around a Saturday morning cartoon plot, that's a little bit more sophisticated than average, but I mean, you know, it is still a Mighty Morphin bad guy plot.
Yeah.
That we don't give characters, aside from Kimberly, enough screen time, like enough panel time. Like, we bring in this guy that she meets, who has his own little character arc. I wanted to spend more time with that guy, and he gets really shoved into the background. And then the end of this is all about her and Tommy, who's not in the book, really.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my complaint about it story-wise. But it's a fun read.
Yeah.
I like it. I wish it didn't feel kind of null and void after Hasbro takes over and they're able to kind of take their own creative license and do whatever they want to with this stuff. Because this is real retcon now.
Yeah.
Again, it can't have happened. So yeah, that was kind of weird going back and reading it this way. Mm-hmm. Which is, again, part of the reason that we're not doing this in chronological order, because it just wouldn't work.
It wouldn't. It would not. Because, like, you don't know what might be set in alternate universes, maybe, or not, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, next time we'll get more into the alternate future stuff and the coinless and all of that. Mm-hmm. And that'll be fun. And I think we're just going to have 2 regular volumes next time. We won't quite be to go yet.
Yeah.
And that happens right after volume 5 or 6, I'm not sure.
5.
5? Okay.
Yeah. And, I mean, we might have some one-shots, right?
Yeah.
We might have,
those will
like,
fit in
the
someplace.
2016 annual, maybe. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's that one or the second one-shot they put out, but one of them has a really cool Zed story that I like a lot.
Oh.
Like a Goldar Zed thing.
Cool.
Okay, well, folks, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back again next week for more of this. We're just going to continue on until we're finished with all the comics. They're pushing close to 100 issues now, I think.
Are they ever going to stop?
I mean, as long as it's popular, I'm not sure why they would. I mean, the TV show's been on for 30 years, so... Mm-hmm. Although, I think that is finally ending. That continuity, they're going to reboot. But yeah, it's kind of like Ninja Turtles at IDW. There doesn't seem to be any signs of it really slowing down yet. So,
yeah.
And it kind of feels like it's just ramping up again finally. After that big Zordon origin arc that we had, which is really pretty good, and I'm kind of excited to get to that eventually.
Wait, what about Center Sticks' super
Oh,
chat?
goodness, I missed that super chat. My apologies. We were in the middle of a thought, and sorry about that, Senior Sticks. Did you think Zordon was psychic or knew more info? I think that Zordon was an exposition head who knew whatever the script needed him to know. That's what Zordon was. In that show. So there's not any rhyme or reason to why he knows what he knows. If he just knew everything, it would kind of be fine. You could just say, okay, he's got infinite wisdom, or he's got all this, he's got a power, and he's got all this information from, you know, his thousands and thousands of years of existence and running Power Rangers for all this time and all of that. But the problem is when he doesn't know things. Where it's like, why does he know stuff sometime? Why does he know the name of the monster that just got built?
Yeah.
For instance. So, yeah. He's just there to tell the audience stuff.
Yeah.
This is the name of this action figure you should go out and buy. That was Zordon's job.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
We'll talk about more of this next week.
Mm-hmm.
I was Captain Logan.
And I was Jayson.
And we were father
and son. And we'll see you next time for more Tommy.